Okay. So I was reading Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So I was reading this chapter 3 last time with the continuation of our reading series. We are reading The Birth Without Fear together. If you have the book, you can read along with me. I know sometimes when women are pregnant, it becomes very difficult for them to even pick up a book to read. Yeah, sometimes it gets there. Sometimes you are very, very okay. You want to read a whole bunch and get empowered with education. Yes, and that's true. I have found a lot of women that I work with, women that I have spoken with, find a lot of time to read. But some really don't also want to even read at all. So if you are one of that woman, that is the reason why I have this series that I come on every weekend to read a book, a chapter out of a book until we are done. This book is what we are reading right now, but I have decided to always come throughout the week. I'm not going to take off days now. I want to just be consistent with this until we finish this book and we're going to pick up another book. And I have read the previous chapters already for the past 2 weekends. If you are interested in just listening in without picking up the book, just come in and listen in and yeah, learn. That's what we are here for. So inshallah, I will wait for a little bit and then start. Let me see. I feel like I have closed a lot. Yeah. None. Okay. I'm trying to test the volume. Last time when I was here, that's the reason why I'm also going to read chapter 3 again, because when I was reading, the volume just disappeared and nobody was hearing me. I didn't realize it until after the fact. Okay. Yeah? Okay. All right, good. So I got a confirmation that the volume is working. I feel like I have closed a lot of this, the option to go on live thing. Let me see what I'm doing on this phone. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Let's see. Let's see the like button. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So we are going to read this book. I am going to continue reading chapter 2, chapter 3, because I missed chapter 3. Last time when I was reading, there wasn't any volume because I thought I was speaking and I got signals, so I wasn't paying attention, and it was just nothing else. That was in volume. So I'm going to quickly read chapter 3, and tomorrow, inshallah, I'll come on and continue with what is left and also read the rest of the chapters until we are done with the book. Okay. Okay. So I will wait for a little bit, for about 1 minute more, and then I'll start. Okay. Let's see. All right. Let's see. Okay, if you can hear me, please give me a thumbs up. It looks like I don't know what I'm doing with this live thing, especially when I come on my phone. So please give me a thumbs up. Let me know if it's is working. If you can hear me, and then I can go on and start reading. Yeah. I don't want to start reading and nobody hears me. So if you can hear me, please let me know. If you cannot hear me, you can also let me know. Okay. So let's see. Um, okay. Let's see. I can start now. I hope so, because nobody's telling me anything. Okay. Okay. I don't know even how to. I think it's the phone. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay, good. Okay, good. I think we are good now. All right, awesome. All right, so I'm going to start reading chapter 3 of this book, the Birth Without Fear book. And we started reading from chapter 1 from last weekend. I'm going to come on every day, inshallah, in the evening to read as well as the weekend. So we are on chapter 3 tonight. If you want to listen in with the chapters that we started, you can go on my live tab and read along while you're listening. Okay, you're gonna be listening in. You don't have to pick up the book and read. And then when I'm reading, I also explain a little bit. But this time, I'm not going to explain. I'm just gonna read, and that's it. Inshallah, on weekend. When you have any question, you can let me know. If I'm reading and you have question, you can let me know. And then I will stop and answer your question. And during the weekend, I can also pick up technical words that I'll be saying through the reading, and I can address those as well. All right. So, Bismillah, chapter 3. Your body is amazing. Your baby is wise. Third trimester without fear. At the end of pregnancy, it feels like time slows down to almost a screeching halt. You are now experiencing the beginning of your baby's birth story in real time. Sit with it. Be in the moment. Breathe. Simply breathe. Take a deep breath in and slowly let it out. You have made it to the third trimester of your pregnancy. Your body is strong and capable. Your baby is wise. And of course, Allah, who is creating the baby, is what? Al-Hakim, right? Breathe. You are in a time of growth and transition. Just be there. Be in your own strength. Tune into your inner voice, that deeper essence of you, what your body and baby telling you. What are your body and baby telling you? What are you supposed to learn through this? Only you can find that answer. Now pause, take a step back, even if for just a few precious moments. The reason every day probably feels like a year is because you are waiting for your birth experience and your baby's birth story to begin. But the truth is, you are already in it. You are in the beginning of your baby's birth story. We as a culture seem to believe birth starts when contraction begins or water breaks. But this notion only takes certain visible, measurable markers as signs of birth. It ignores that hormonal, physical, and emotional changes are happening all along. And it ignores the innate intelligence of both you and your baby. But you don't have to ignore that intelligence. You can choose to honor it. During the third trimester, changes can seem to increase exponentially. You may not notice any changes at the start of the third trimester. And then you may wake up one day around week 32 and think, oh, in about 5 weeks, I am going to be considered full term. This is really happening. Checkups move from once a week. Checkup moves from once a month to every 2 weeks. And around 36 weeks, you are going every week. By the end of the third trimester, everything seems to speed up and slow down all at once. There can be so much restlessness during this time. Restless sleep, impatient and excited waiting, wondering who your baby will look like and what the birth will be like. And for some reason, everyone everywhere keeps asking, have you had the baby yet? You can't push time and you can't slow it down. Give yourself and your baby and your body the space to prepare for your birth experience while also giving your baby the space to have their birth story. Stop waiting for your water to break and give yourself permission to create a protective cocoon around you now. Take some deep breaths and acknowledge that this is a time of transition. honoring the journey and whatever emotions it may bring. Don't think just about processing your own fears, but also about not allowing other people's fears into your own space. After my third birth, a hospital VBAC 2, okay? VBAC is vaginal birth after 2 cesarean. It took a lot of time processing my 3 births and what led to the outcomes of those births. Not just how baby entered the world from my body, but each labor, the decisions that were made, how I was treated, and how postpartum went. I came to one very clear realization that it wasn't just my fears or trust that affected my labors for birth, but also the fears of my providers and the birth team present. It felt as if I couldn't find a care provider who had faith in me and my body. I spent all 40 plus hours of labor worrying about their fears and what they thought. I just wanted to birth a baby. I kept coming back to the knowledge of all the women before me who had birthed their babies. I felt a kinship with them. I knew I could do that too. I no longer felt okay with care providers telling me I couldn't because I was plus size, had previous C-sections, or gone post-date. I was done with others doubting my ability when I wasn't doubting myself one single bit. I knew I could do this. I knew I could squat and push a baby out of me without all the doubt, fears, and trauma. For me, at the time of my 4th pregnancy, the only way I felt I could have this cocoon of support and trust was with an unassisted birth. It was one of the most empowering moments of my life. It was also a deeply healing experience, not just for me, but also for my husband. He says it was the best day of his life catching his baby girl with us surrounded by strength, trust, and love. But I don't want you to feel the way I did. That the only way you can birth is if you are backed into a corner surrounded by everyone's opinions and yet at the same time feeling completely alone. I don't want you to feel that the only way to have a trauma-free birth is to do it alone. I don't want anyone doubting your ability to know and trust your body, especially when you aren't doubting your ability. Unassisted birth is an option and our right over our bodies and experiences, but it could not feel like your only option to have supported trauma-free birth. Women deserve options, respect, and support. What I learned from my 4th birth is that no matter how you choose to birth, you must unapologetically protect your birth space. And that starts in the 3rd trimester. Other people's energy and voices can so easily get into your head. Not allowing other people's fears and baggage into your birth space may come naturally to some people, but for others it takes practice. The more you educate yourself, speak up for yourself, and demand respectful and supportive care, the more you feel the effect of that and the more you will want it. It may be as simple as answering, "It's not up for discussion," with no nosy family. It may be as much as switching to a doula who is a better fit for your birth space. It may be just needing space to feel however you feel and letting that be okay. 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 Good. All right. Should I go on with reading? Yeah. Okay. So let me go on with reading. All right. The third trimester is usually from around weeks 29 to 27 to 29 through weeks 40 to 42, with variations of normal going as much as 44 weeks. In fact, even the American Congress of Obstetricians and Gynecologists says that women are not to be considered postdate until they've reached the full 42 weeks. Variations of normal may include endless discomfort in your hips, joints, and muscles, or being too uncomfortable to get much sleep and getting up to pee all through the night. I can say from experience that the feeling of your baby kicking and moving inside you never gets old. No matter how many kids you have. And I can also say with confidence that many of us hit 36 weeks and we are done. Just done. Done with being pregnant, done with preparing for the baby, done with decision making, done. You may want your body back, not in the pre baby body sense, because that's not how I roll, but in the sense that you want to have your body physically back to yourself. Remember, your body is amazing, your baby is wise, and you are the beginning of your baby's birth story. Like I said, yes. And the Allah who is creating the baby inside of you is Al Hakim. He is the most wise, right? He knows what he's doing. So whatever you're doing, you just surrender to him and give him that control. Being pregnant, you don't have no control. Your only control is to tie your camel, to make sure you're eating right, to make sure you're having enough sleep, to make sure you are taking your prenatals if you need to make sure you're going for your prenatal appointment, you have a doula, if you, all of those things, those are what is in your control. But what is not in your control, you don't take that. The fears, you give it to Allah. The tawakkul, you have it enormously. The prayers, you make it, right? And then just let go and let Allah in. Last time I was saying, and it's like, let go and let God. Let go and let Allah. So all of those things are very, very important. Doing what you need to do, but then those are what you can do in tying your camel, and you leave the rest for Allah to take charge, because he's Al-Hakim. He is the most wise. He's going to do that for you. Right. Okay. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to continue reading, inshallah. Remember, your body is amazing, your baby is wise, and you are at the beginning of your baby's birth story. Once the baby is in your arms, time will speed up so fast you will barely be able to keep up. Try to enjoy the slow down phase for what it is, as you only have a little longer of it being just the two of you. And if just reading, try to enjoy it. If just reading, try to enjoy it, makes you want to throw this book across the room, then I will tell you this: just make space to feel however you feel, because it's okay to do so. Writing a birth plan philosophy. By the third trimester of pregnancy, many women are ready to be done with all the logistical work. You've read all the research and maybe even prepared the nursery or co-sleeping space. Now you are just trying to get a few hours of sleep before the baby comes. I get that. Yet the third trimester is a great time to write what I call a birth plan philosophy, and also what a lot of women know as the birth plan, right? So today I was sharing a birth plan template with one of my clients at work, and she never heard of it before. She doesn't even know she's been pregnant, and she's 22 weeks already. She doesn't even know what a birth plan is. She doesn't know what a birth wishes are. She's just pregnant and she's rolling it. And when she goes to the doctor said, this is what we're going to do for this visit. She just accepts it. And I was like, oh, wow. So is this what you're going in for your birth and you don't even know anything about your birth? Yarab, and you too. Thank you for joining. I am reading this book. If you have this book, you can read along with me. I am on page 42. If not, this is just a way to actually read our books and sisters listen in, even if you don't feel like picking up a book to read. You can just be listening in to get that information. Last week, I was reading and I was explaining a lot of stuff. But this time, I choose not to do that so we can have a smooth reading session, okay? But I wanted to just stop and talk about the birth plan philosophy, because a lot of women, like today, one of my sessions with my patients at work, and when we were discussing things, and she never even heard of birth plan or birth wishes, and that's the reason why I stopped. If you have any question, leave it in the comment section. I will answer it, inshallah. If I know the answer. If I don't know the answer to, it's okay to not know. All right. I know it becomes common practice to write birth plans, but I think the word plan alone can be damaging. It can set up false expectations that you can plan birth for your birth. It's good to plan, but things may not go as planned. A philosophy is how you feel about your intended birth experience. I would encourage you to create something that uses a little bit of both. Okay. I will encourage you to a philosophy is how you feel about your intended birth experience. I would encourage you to create something that uses a little bit of both. Your plan focuses on certain logistics, delayed cord clamping, for example, and your philosophy lays out how you expect to be treated and the vibe you would like to create for your experience. Think of writing this plan or philosophy as a way to get more comfortable knowing your options and solidifying your bubble. A practice of keeping others' fears out of it while exploring your needs during your labor and birth. Writing a birth plan philosophy is both practical and imaginative. It is making your birth philosophy clear to you and your birth team. It allows you to make space for your emotional health during birth. A birth plan isn't set in stone plan because you can't possibly predict or control everything about birth. Rather, it is a tool for education, options, and support. It is about educating yourself further, looking into your options, and discussing them with your care providers to see if you are on the same wavelength. You will want to let go and be in the flow during your birth. And writing a birth plan helps you feel confident that everyone on your team knows your preferences and is listening to your voice while you are busy laboring. A written birth plan philosophy is a tangible experience of the kind of care you want and need. It clarifies for you and your team and the kind of experience you want to have, no matter the specifics of your labor. Unassisted, cesarean, hospital, home birth, birthing center, or even in the case of a transfer from one to the other, how will you find comfort? How can those present help support your confidence? What are your medication preferences? What movement preferences? Your movement preferences, your infant feeding preferences, your desires for skin to skin contact and cord clamping, your feelings about episiotomy and placenta delivery. If you know what episiotomy is when a doctor makes a little cut in the rectum area to allow space for the transition of a baby. Usually they do the cut just to do that, but evidence now shows us that that is not evidence-based, okay? It is not a very good practice. A lot of hospitals continue to do that because it's a hospital policy, but it is not evidence-based. So instead of cutting, why not allow mama to tear? So allowing mama to tear gives mama the ability of her body to heal on her own. But when a cut is made, there is a bigger scar. The wound takes time to heal. The wound leaves a bigger scar, and it's not really nice. And also in the rectum area, it is kind of a sensitive place. So you don't you discuss those things with your provider even before your labor, so you know that you are not allowing episiotomy, even if the doctor is that is a common practice in the hospital that you are giving birth, right? So the doctor knows, your provider knows that you don't your preference is not to have episiotomy. You prefer to tear instead of having episiotomy. So I pause because I know somebody might question what is episiotomy, and it's a good thing to also know. Okay. 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 So I'm going to continue reading. It's crucial to take into account your emotional and psychological health when writing a birth plan. How can you create a safe and supportive bubble for yourself during labor and birth? How would you ideally like decisions to be made? What would improve your emotional health in the event that you need a cesarean birth? Or if a healing birth is a planned C-section, is your birth team on board with your desires for a family-centered or maternal-assisted C-section, cesarean? So many women and families tell me they are not writing a birth plan because they want to go with the flow. And then they add, I wanted to try laboring in water, or I was always interested in an unmedicated birth. But how would anyone know what you want and are interested in if you don't specify your preferences? This opens up for the very real possibility that your voice will get lost in labor. Birth plans are wonderful not only for educating yourself and your partner, but also to discuss what your provider to discuss with your provider to make sure you are on the same page. It's crucially important for your birth team to support your needs to help avoid birth trauma. Writing a birth plan and philosophy is also a great conversation starter with your care provider. Go over it with them and ask questions. When a friend who had a traumatic birth with her first baby began talking to a new care provider about her birth plan for her second, he suggested picking a date to induce her as a way to ease her anxiety about the loss of control she experienced previously. She didn't like the idea of induction, and he respected that. But this conversation gave her an appreciation of her care provider's creative thinking and willingness to support her emotional health and to give her individualized or unique care. It showed her that they were a team, that they could have an open discussion not just about healthy baby and healthy room mom, but also how to make sure she felt seen and heard. Writing a birth plan or philosophy helps open up those conversations and make space for your voice. Care providers. I'm moving on to the next. Care providers. It surprises a lot of women then that when they hit 30 and 40 weeks, plenty of new things start coming up with their care providers. Sometimes brand new things, sometimes things previously discussed and agreed upon by you and your care providers. If you've decided on a hospital birth, for example, it can feel like you are suddenly getting blindsided with policies and restrictions that hadn't come up before. Or if you've been planning to birth at home or in a birthing center, you may hear for the first time about restrictions based on state laws or practices once you reach 39 weeks. Many women become frustrated and overwhelmed with decisions they feel underprepared for during the third trimester. Start wondering after weeks of planning and preparing, is everything changing? What I hear all the time from women in their third trimester is that they come out of appointment with their care providers with more questions than they went in with. Okay. A doctor or midwife will say something off the cuff and unexpected, suggesting a new test or referring to a hospital policy not mentioned before. And so often women get home and find themselves fixated on it. I'm 39 weeks. I'm tired. I'm frustrated. Should I get the membrane sweep? And also, what is a membrane sweep? Hopefully, you don't have a provider who pressured you into a cervical exam or did one without even asking. Yes, it happens. I'm getting close to post date. What does that mean? My doctor wants to do a non-stress test. What is it and should I agree to it? Should I try to get things moving or should I slow things down? When your focus should be on resting and protecting your space, this can become a distraction leading to frustration and anxiety. In your third trimester, your baby and your exhaustion are both growing. It's a good time to remember that you want to make the space for your needs in the midst of what can feel like the ground shifting out from under you. Lots of women are hesitant to call their care provider with what they are afraid are silly questions, and often for good reason. A call to your care provider usually means being put through to the nurse on call and then being told the doctor will give you a call back. When you do get a call, when you do get called back, more often than not, you are giving a generalized answer or you get the feeling you are bothering them for asking. Yet my first response to these kinds of questions is always call your provider. Why? Because you deserve as much information as you deserve and desire, and because it's your right to ask as many questions as you have. And because, believe it or not, The third trimester is often the time when red flags starts to appear with your care provider, OBs and midwives alike. So it's also a great time to put that relationship to the test. If you are not getting helpful answers, or if you don't feel bored, you don't feel heard, that's worth paying attention to. You have autonomy over your experience, and you don't owe anyone your continued support or patronage if you don't feel completely at ease. When talking to your care provider, it's a good idea to try to meet them where they are. Sometimes we need to stand our ground and blaze a trail to change policies and care women receive. Policies and the care women receive. But always balance that instinct with protecting your space. You don't need to create more of a struggle for yourself. Understand that hospitals and birthing centers have standard operating procedures, and that they tend to want everything running smoothly according to a particular standard of normal. The person on the phone with you may not have much power, or may have never been asked questions like the ones you are asking. There may be certain instances where your provider will be comfortable in deviating from their standard protocol, and certain instances where they will not. Maybe you don't want to repeat cervical checks and ultrasounds near the end of the pregnancy. But you also know that your midwife or OB won't discontinue care with you if you pass your 42 weeks of pregnancy, as nearly every other care provider you interviewed would. An ultrasound during week 41 and or 42 to elevate any concerns your provider has might be a necessary compromise. Here's what I hear you say. You might ask your care provider, what does that mean? What are my options? What's the hospital policy, and why is it a policy? You can also ask to see the policy. Can you show it to me in writing? I have found that very often stated policies are not written anywhere. It's just how something has been done, and the person you are talking with isn't willing or able to go against the status quo. If it is not a written policy, you are well within your right to keep pushing for what you want. I have had wonderful nurses tell me they love it when their mamas do this. If the policy in question is in writing, you get to decide if you are going to push back anyway. Do you feel there is a good reason for this policy? Is it something you are willing to compromise on? Do you want to push back, or is this policy a reason to find a different care provider, a different hospital, or a different birthing center? Meeting your care provider in the middle does not mean compromising on all things, and especially not when they reverse course on you after agreeing with your initial wishes and plans. Too many women find themselves ensnared in a trap of dishonesty during their third trimester. My doctor said that she supported me having a natural birth on my first visit, but now she's saying I need a C-section because my hips are too narrow. I always go post dates, and my midwife was okay with that. But now she's saying I will need to start discussing induction or transfer if I go past 40 weeks. My OB was all for my VBAC, but now he's saying I can have a TOEL. TOEL is trial of labor, which restrictions during my labor and pushing, with restrictions during my labor and pushing. And a VBAC is also, last week I explained that. VBAC is vaginal birth after C-section. And VBAC 2 is vaginal birth after 2 C-section. Okay? Um, if your care provider no longer seems to be aligned with your philosophy and you've tried having an open discussion with them about it, this is no longer a supportive partnership. If your care provider initially agreed to your wishes but suddenly does not and is citing policies, restrictions, protocols, or any other excuse to justify their change in behavior that was not previously explained to you, there is one simple yet powerful thing you can do: fire your provider. Last week I was explaining, unfortunately, it didn't come in the video. Yeah, you can actually change providers right when you are even having your baby. Okay, especially if you don't feel comfortable, if you don't feel supported, if you feel like you are being dismissed all the time, and your wishes are not being considered. Yes, you can switch providers, okay? Because you working with the provider is a business transaction. It is actually a business thing. So if you hire that provider, your insurance or you are paying out of pocket, you are actually hiring the provider to pay them. All right. So you can actually switch providers if they are not serving you, if they are not giving you what you want, if they are not providing what you hired them for, what your insurance company is going to pay them for, what you as the person who is going to pay out of pocket is paying them for. Okay, so don't be afraid to say, okay, I'm not getting what I want, and I'm keeping the provider and having that thing all over in your head, and that can affect your labor. It can affect how your labor progresses. Okay, so addressing that early is very, very important. All right, let's move on. I switched care providers during this late stage during the late stage of 3 of my pregnancies. And in talking to women all across the US and internationally, I have found it's more common than you might think. Although it's certainly not what you want to be doing in your third trimester, many women find it to be an empowering decision in the end. One woman switched at 30 weeks because her OB told her she would only be able to push on her back, and she knew she couldn't labor that way again. Right. So the question of laboring on the back as well comes up again and again. So it's something that you want to discuss with your provider. If you want to labor anyhow you want and not only be strapped on a hospital bed, you have to discuss that with your provider. If you want to just have a movement, okay, you'll be moving up and down in labor, you have to discuss that with your provider and make sure that that is happening in the birth space, and not that when you are in labor, you are told to come and be strapped in a hospital bed and push your baby out. Another switch from one OB to another at 37 weeks to make sure she had the best chance at a VBAC. 3 unmedicated VBACs later, she knows it was the right decision. One woman told me she switched from an OB to a midwife practice at 29 weeks and was thrilled to no longer feel like a name on the schedule and to be looked at in the eye. I spoke with a woman who switched care providers at 33 weeks. When she felt her doctor became condescending and paternalistic, seemingly out of nowhere, he began insisting that she be induced at 39 weeks because she had risk factors for preeclampsia. And when she asked, he refused to consider additional monitoring as a course of action. If you know what preeclampsia means, preeclampsia is basically having consistently high blood pressure during pregnancy with protein in your urine. Okay, that is a risk factor when you pregnant and you have preeclampsia, or you have um, your blood pressure getting higher and higher, and also there is protein in your urine. You are diagnosed with preeclampsia, and you are also classified as high risk. At that time, you need to be monitored all the time, and then also some doctors also might suggest induction early. So you want to know what is your status and what diagnosis you have in pregnancy, and then how you can navigate that. Preeclampsia can be managed through nutrition, and I'm going to, inshallah, make a video about that. All right. So she switched to a doctor who So she switched to a doctor who respected her and her concerns. Her new care provider monitored her, and she had an unmedicated birth at 42 and a half weeks. She never got preeclampsia. So that was a misdiagnosis. I have known women who have fired their care providers while in labor, even at 7 centimeters dilated. Imagine that is a dare, right? So if you don't feel supported, why would you continue? You don't want your baby to come into this world with with chaos, in a chaotic space, right? So if you don't feel supported, if you feel very angry all the time with your provider, you don't feel like you are being heard, you are being your wishes are being considered, why not switch and have somebody who can look at you as a human being, giving birth to a human being? Okay. Or it can be, I know women who have fired their care providers while in labor, even at 7 centimeters dilated. Or it can be for something seemingly simple and less dramatic. One woman switched at 30 weeks because although her OB was kind and knowledgeable, she just didn't connect with her. You can do that too. If you are in your third trimester and you are planning a home or birthing center birth, making an appointment with someone who catches babies in a hospital, either a midwife or an OB, will help you have options should you need to transfer care at 42 and a half weeks. I hear this a lot, and it happened to me. At 42 weeks, a woman's home birth or birthing center midwife tells her she has to transfer to someone in a hospital. It really is best if there is some kind of backup care that doesn't put a woman who goes post-date in an incredibly stressful situation. That way, when a woman hits 42 weeks, it is not this shocking what's gonna happen, panicky time. Instead, you transfer care to someone you've already met who has you on file. And it doesn't have to be a traumatic experience. Everyone can still work together for a healthy outcome, mentally and physically. I've been I have seen this work beautifully in a Milwaukee birthing center. Between their second and third trimester, all the women in their care go in and have a visit with hospital midwives and OBs to meet them, see them, fill out papers, and even do an ultrasound. They tell women this question of transferring care will come up if you go past 41 weeks. And this is a chance for you to meet and talk with these hospital care providers about the possibilities if you need to go to the hospital to birth your baby. The independent birthing center midwives also transfer with their moms and stay on as support for their desired birth philosophy, making sure their voice isn't lost in the change. I had that with my six when I chose to do a co-care, and when I experienced it, I knew this is how it should have always been. This gives you options and support no matter what changes may occur. Yes, we are dealing with the complicated subject of healthcare, especially pregnancy and birth, with all of it rules and regulations and policies and practices, but you have no reason to not to experience the same level of competency, care, and honesty from your care provider as you would expect hiring a care provider for a loved one. You deserve respect and care just as much as you think someone you care about deserves respect and care. It is up to you to set boundaries and reach others and teach others how to treat you in life. And this is no difference. If your midwife or OB is not meeting the standards you set forth and they agree to, then discontinue doing business with them and find another provider who will. You are worth it. Okay? All right. I have read a lot. I think I have two more pages to be done. Let me finish quick and then I'll call it a day. Self-care during the third trimester. I have been saying this all along, but it's best repeating, especially as you near the end of your pregnancy. Practice caring for yourself now so that you already have practice with self-care when baby comes. Self-care is a process, but you put yourself in the mindset and the habit of making sure you are taking care of yourself. When baby comes, everyone asks about the baby. No one is going to put you first by you. The first year you go into survival mode and that's okay. That's what it is. If you practice taking care of yourself during the third trimester and when preparing for postpartum, that helps you practice self-care while you are in survival mode too. Use self-care to help make decisions about labor and postpartum. For example, create boundaries around who you do or don't want in the birth room. This goes for everyone from your mother to your birth photographer. If you want to hire one, be very intentional about whom you invite into your space. Worry about your own space of mind more than you worry about hurting someone else's feelings. Boundaries are self-care. It's okay to feel sad if your mother-in-law really wants to be in the room with you, but you've asked her not to be. But don't feel guilty. She had her birth experience. This is yours. Some women give clear postpartum rules for visiting too, including who or what comes into her home once baby is born. It's okay if you want to limit the amount of germs your newborn comes in contact with. It's just as okay if you want to limit the amount of extended family you will come in contact with. Remember that you are part of your family too. You wouldn't hesitate to protect your child, so don't hesitate to protect you, your physical, mental, and emotional health. I will talk more about postpartum self-care in part 3, but for now, here are some practical things you can do to prepare for postpartum. Freeze meals, clean your house, and stock up on food gift cards. Hire postpartum doula for a couple of nights. Put together a bin of essentials for baby and you. Diapers, wipes, onesies, pacifiers, and phone numbers of people to reach out to. Snack, water, and the remote, the Netflix remote, and your Quran, honestly, because we forget. Getting a translated Quran or translated Quran can do wonders, right? You can get a spare phone that you can be listening to the Quran in a very calm way. Hopefully you've been listening to the Quran whilst you are pregnant, so baby is really attuned to that voice already, and baby feels calm and safe whilst listening to the Quran even after birth, right? So you can do that. Or even if you just want to connect with the Quran by holding a physical book, you don't have to hold the physical mushaf because you are in nifas, right? You can hold it, but the transliteration one, you can hold that because some ulama says that is not a full Quran and that you can utilize, right? The translated one is also the one that I have. I left it at work. I think I have one here that I can show you. Oh, it's not here. Okay, where's my book? Okay, so yeah, it's not here. I moved it. Okay, yeah. So you can get that one, and I have shared it again and again on my page. If you're interested in seeing that, you can go on one of my videos that I think I made. It's 10 things to 10 things to do in early pregnancy. I shared that the Quran there. You can check it. If I also finish with this video, I can put it in the link down below if you're interested in getting that. It's a very amazing Quran that has the word for word translation and also the translation itself, right? Word for word transliteration and the translation is very, very helpful for me, especially when I am in my period and I am not able to pray. I'm not able to connect with the Quran the way I am routinely doing. I carry that Quran everywhere I go, and that helps me to not get disconnected. All right, so you can even put that as part of your things for postpartum. All right. Okay. So pacifiers, phone numbers of people to reach out to, snacks, water, and the Netflix remote. And then also I mentioned, don't forget the Quran and the even the fortress of the Muslim. That's the Hisnul Muslim. That's the dua book that the morning azkar and the evening azkar is there, right there with you. And you'll be picking up whilst you're nursing the baby, whilst you're eating your snack. You are connecting and you are actually feeling some safeness, and also your emotional health is being taken care of by Allah. All right. Okay. How comfortable, stretchy clothes ready. Have comfortable, stretchy clothes ready, and maybe some easy pampering things too. Face masks, bath soaks, essential oils, and hair oil. Sometimes we forget about our hair when you have the baby. So hair oil can help to reduce the hair fall. Even it cannot prevent it, but it can help to actually maintain a little bit of the fall, too much of it, and give you a stronger hair subsequently moving forward, right? You can prepare for your emotional health postpartum too. Sure, preparing meals to freeze once baby comes is a brilliant idea, but who is the person you are going to call when you feel alone or overwhelmed? What are the one or two things you are going to do to remind yourself you are still you, even when you are sleep deprived? And for me, is to always make salawat, always saying, Allahumma salli wa sallim ala nabiyyina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and then istighfar. Astaghfirullah al-azim, astaghfirullah al-azim, astaghfirullah al-azim. That's one of the biggest things that really when I'm stressed, whenever I am stressed and I remind myself to just go back to that routine and start, it just takes away a lot of the stress, the tenseness that I feel in my body and I feel around me. it's really, 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 really supportive. So you can practice that if that is not a part of your practice of life and of your day to day, right? You can practice that. Allahumma salli wa sallim ala nabiyyina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You say that again and again. Astaghfirullah al-azim, astaghfirullah al-azim, astaghfirullah al-azim. You say that again and again. Yeah, and anything else that you feel like you connect with is beautiful. All right, especially when you're pregnant, it's something that for me is non-negotiable. All right. What are the one thing that you are going to do to remind yourself you are still you, even when you are sleep deprived? We always say reach out if you need help. And it's a lot more likely you would reach out if you already have some people on speed dial. A speed dial still a thing? I don't know. Do you have here she said, do you have a Snapchat buddy? If you have an Instagram buddy, if you have a YouTube buddy that like we are doing right now, you can come on here and let's have a conversation, okay? And we ask questions, and inshallah, it's even one of the things that I'll come on live to do, as in making salawat for sisters who are pregnant and cannot sleep. They wake up at night and you feel like, oh, wow, you are just rolling around and around. Remember to make salawat, hold your tasbih and start. So it's something that I will also come in to do. As we do that, we all reap the reward, right? Reward of saying it and reward of encouraging each other to do that. All right. A yoga teacher knowledgeable in postpartum physical and emotional support, or exercise teacher that can help too. Favorite, because I mean there is that mix fatwa about yoga, so you make sure that you know what kind of yoga poses you doing, and then also ask your sheikh, ask somebody who is more knowledgeable about these things, and then they can explain it to you. For me, I don't know anything about yoga, so I'm not saying anything about it. A favorable Starbuck barrister. There are wonderful lifelines for your postpartum. If it takes a village to raise a child, it also takes a village to support a parent. What I tell my clients all the time is, in the hospital, in the place that I work with, and my private client, is you should learn, when you're having the baby, you should learn to ask for help. No assumption. Don't assume that you asked for help yesterday and then the person knows to help you, so you are not going to ask again. No. If you do that, you are doing yourself a disservice. Ask for help today. Tomorrow, if you need the help, even if that person knows to help you, ask them again. The next minute, even if the person knows to help you, ask them again. Ask them again so you can reserve your energy, you can heal better, you can recover faster, and then later you are well into taking care of yourself. You are more nourished, more rested, and you can take up whatever you need to take up. But if you use up your energy because somebody is around you and you feel like you can mine it and then do what you want to do because you don't know how to ask for help, and ask for help and then also accept help, then you are actually making your healing to go to the left, okay? You are actually making your healing to take longer, to not be in favor of you. Yeah, so if you need to even get the rest and everything else, do that. Somebody is there to ask for help, ask that. If they offer that help, take it. And that you can reserve all the energy, you can reserve all the energy for healing and recovery for later, when you can actually serve yourself. Okay? All right. So if it takes a village to raise a child, it also takes a village to support a parent. Just naming them is empowering. Let them know they are on your list. 2, that you are going to need them in the months and years to come. Yeah. Acknowledging to yourself that you are going through a time of transition, that birth and parenthood are unpredictable and beautiful and messy, and that every part of you will need time to heal, process, and find your new normal. You can also prepare for birth and postpartum with sleep guilt free. Just get up 10 minutes before everyone else or stay up 10 minutes after everyone else and sit in some quiet place with coffee or carrot cake or whatever makes you feel happy. Do activities you love before pregnancy. Exercise, whether that means taking a walk, dancing, doing some gentle stretches, or even a high intensity sweaty workout if that's something you've been doing before and during the first 2 trimesters. Brisk walking is awesome, okay? It's free, it's easy, it's accessible, and that is something that I recommend all the time. During my first pregnancy, I went to a local pool almost every day, and I can't say enough about how much comfort it gave me, physically and emotionally. It was easy on my joints, soothed my muscles, and gave me a sense of deep relaxation while also allowing me to move around weightlessly during those last weeks of discomfort. Or you could take Epsom salt baths or long hot or cold showers. Listen to a soothing podcast, get acupuncture, be intimate with your partner, do something at all. Do nothing at all, guilt free. Okay? I know some of you may not have a supportive partner or family nearby or any type of village. I know many may be tight. I know that the more tired you are, the more difficult money may be tight. I know that the more tired you are, the more difficult it is to create and maintain boundaries, to clear your space of anyone or anything that's bringing in doubt, fears, or frustrations. I know because I have been there, but don't let any of these or any other valid reasons keep you from taking care of yourself in whatever ways you can that makes sense for you. It's not selfish or extravagant to prioritize your well-being. Send anyone asking if you have had the baby yet to this website. So the website is haveyoухadthebabyet.com. There you will get the answer loud and clear. Unless you've seen a birth announcement, it's a big nope. In a world that gives you a lot of fear, anxiety, sadness, and doubt, I am giving you love. You are amazing. You are doing enough. You are completely worth it. You deserve peace. I am giving you a moment to have it. Please accept it and take it. Yeah. May Allah be with you. May Allah's peace reach you in this pregnancy journey and in the parenting journey. May your pregnancy be easy. If you are pregnant, may Allah make it easy for you, and then get closer to Him even more. If you are not pregnant, trying to be pregnant, may Allah make it easy. Whoever is trying to be pregnant, may Allah make it easy and make them even more fertile, make the journey easy, right? Take away the emotional stress and everything else. If you are in your postpartum period, it is time for you to think about, is that time for you to think about a lot of things, a lot of how you want to parent if you have not started thinking about it, how you want to be a parent, how you want to parent your child, how you want to be the spouse. Now you are a different spouse again. Having a baby is beautiful, but then when you have a baby, it also changes the dynamics of the relationship. So knowing that very early is very, very important, and inviting Allah in, calling Allah to just be the guide, to be the leader of you and your husband is is something that we need. We need as sisters. All right. So may Allah be with all of us, and I hope that this reading reaches to you with peace and in peace. Inshallah, tomorrow I'll be here reading chapter 4. I just finished chapter 3. Okay, there is a story here. It's a partner point of view after every chapter, which I'm not going to read. And I'll move on to part 2, option support and respect labor birth, before I move on to chapter 4. So I will call it a day. And if you have any question, I see people hopping on. If you have any question, you can let me know before I disconnect. I read this book, chapter 3 of this book, The Birth Without Fear. We started last 2 weeks. We read during the weekend. And I have decided to come on every night now to read. Okay, if I'm not able to come at night, I will come during the day. May Allah make it easy for me, inshallah. All right. So I think that's it. Let me see if there is any question. If there is no question, we can move on to tomorrow, inshallah. Okay. I got a comment. I didn't know how to reply. Okay. I didn't know how to reply on this phone thing. So I guess that's it. Yeah. It says, may Allah bless you, sister. Ameen, ameen, ameen. And you too. Jazakallah khairan for coming on and engaging. I hope this reading bring you a little bit of empowerment and information of what to do. If you have any question, please let me know after this video in the replay, and I will make a video from it, or I will come on next time to discuss those questions, inshallah. All right. Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.